Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and I got something special for you today. Today, we are going to talk about a poster. So, this poster has a story. This is a TSR 1994 product release schedule poster. I purchased this at Thy Geekdom Come, which is a small convention in Pennsylvania. I think it was last year, and in 2019. And I bought this. And I got this in a Dragon magazine I bought out of a collector's collection. And I purchased the Dragon magazine, and I did not know that this really super special poster would be in the Dragon magazine. I was just wonderfully delighted. So delighted that I asked my wife if I could mount it on the wall. And she gave me a distinct period of time. So for a brief period of time, this will be on our wall. And so this was placed on this. My wife mounted this on a wooden board, and I believe it's covered with Mod Podge at this point. But this is specially mounted. This is like an object of great affection to me now. But this poster is really special from a Dungeons & Dragons perspective because it is beautiful and sorrowful at the same time. So it is beautiful because it shows you in 1994 when arguably the game was at its height. Or one of its heights, right? There have been peaks and valleys in Dungeons & Dragons history, and this is a peak. So here we are in 1994. Dungeons & Dragons is owned by TSR, not Wizards of the Coast, not Hasbro, right? But also at this point, Gary Gygax is gone, and he has been gone for a full decade, literally for a decade, okay? And so, but just look at this. Here we see Dungeons & Dragons, the different worlds that were viable and going on at that time. Adventure Vision, the Dungeons & Dragons main core line, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons second edition line. And then we get into AD&D second edition. You can see the yellow band there. The AD&D second edition settings. Mystara, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance. Many really amazing novels would come out of Dragonlance. Al-Qadim. Boy, now that's a deep cut, right? Al-Qadim is a really incredible series. It was an incredible series back then. But there's a big question now, right? So Al-Qadim was kind of Middle Eastern themed. And there's this big question now. Can you do fantasy settings that are clearly isolated to one people's culture, right? Or to one region's culture. We don't know the answer to that yet, right? That's bouncing around right now. Dungeons & Dragons had Oriental Adventures. They had Rokugan. And a lot of people are thinking, will we ever see an Oriental Adventures again? It certainly won't have that title. Will we ever see a Rokugan again? We don't know, right? Because one of the things is that maybe you could do that if you bring in people of that culture to be the designers and the artists and the writers. We don't know. But Al-Qadim was here in 1994, and this is way before those questions were coming up. Here you see Dark Sun, amazing setting with Brahm. And Brahm about to just completely mic drop on the entire fantasy tabletop role-playing game industry and say, this is art, right? Like, if you were there, you know how important Brahm was. If you weren't there, go check out his art. He is absolutely amazing. He did a card game, and you should really just check out that card game. It had some amazing art where he was the main artist just for a card game. Again, back in the 90s. Here we see Ravenloft. Such a great setting, right? And Ravenloft is a setting that jumps in and out of other settings. A setting itself that was like a hunter, and it kind of just appeared from the mists, and it could drop into your current setting, and then it could be gone in the morning. Really, really amazing. Ravenloft was really unique and special. We got some Ravenloft in 5th edition, but just one sad small book that was really just an adventure book, not really a setting book. But you are looking at a poster from back in the day, back when settings were settings, right? And that's really important. Here we see Amazing Engine. What was Amazing Engine? Amazing Engine was said, hey, you like playing Dungeons & Dragons? What if you could use the Dungeons & Dragons rules to run anything, right? And it, Bug Hunters was part of that. And the idea was that you could run in non-fantasy worlds with the Amazing Engine. And those books are sitting on my shelf. I love those books. Endless Quest, right? Those were books based on Dungeons & Dragons, right? So you look at this poster and you could see the beauty of it, right? You could see the swim lanes for it, right? Same as any project manager would create today in Microsoft Project, right? This, as beautiful as this is just a project manager's, like schedule. That's all you're looking at here. But look at this. So as beautiful as this is, we've seen the beauty. Let's look at the sorrow. You are looking at a map of the death of TSR. This is TSR in 1994, and they were proud of this hot mess, right? Mystara, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, Al-Qadim, Dark Sun, Ravenloft, Planescape. Too many, right? Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. One too many, right? And look at all those products. More than any real fan could buy in a year, right? Too full, too pressed in. Not a great execution, but not good planning, not good design, right? Spreading themselves too thin. What is the difference between Mystara and Forgotten Realms? What is the difference between Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance? Like, there's no real useful difference between those three. You could easily just let Forgotten Realms stand and let Mystara die and Dragonlance die. Or, arguably, you could make a case that Dragonlance should have lived and Forgotten Realms and Mystara should die, but no one can argue that we should have had all three of those going at the same time. And look at it. Mystara barely has anything on the schedule, right? Forgotten Realms has a ton of things on the schedule, and Dragonlance has a ton of things on the schedule, but too much. Clearly too much, right? And now, Al-Qadim, it's questionable now if that should have ever been made, right? You could have taken that off and just said, maybe it's not a great idea to base a fantasy land on a real region of Earth, And then Dark Sun, brilliant setting. Ravenloft, brilliant setting. Planescape, brilliant setting. But what if instead of 7 different groups, you had 4 or 3 or 2, right? TSR could have made all this going, right? But here's the thing. They weren't paying attention to their business. They weren't making sound business decisions. And this beautiful, sorrowful poster is a picture of the death of why TSR died and why Wizards of the Coast would be able to buy every single thing, every setting, every rule set, everything on this board for a few $1 million as the runoff money that was being made from Magic the Gathering, which is started in 1993. So here you see TSR's death map, and at the same time, you see the reason that Wizards of the Coast will be able to come along and sweep up all of this content and make it theirs. This picture, this poster, is just a moment frozen in time in Dungeons & Dragons history. It's really special. It's really unique. It makes me smile, and it makes a tear come out of my face. I love this poster. I love that my wife was kind enough to mount it for me. I'm really proud that it's on my wall for a brief period of time. And this thing is really special, and I really wanted to just share this with you and the thoughts that it put into my mind and my heart. Thank you very much for celebrating Dungeons & Dragons with me. I really miss TSR. Of course, I miss Gary Gygax. And I will say I miss Dark Sun and Ravenloft and Planescape. And this is just really something special. And I really just wanted to share it with you. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to do that. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful, wonderful millennium.